Frontera circuit. We are live at the Spanish Grand Prix, one of the longest running events in the history of Motogp. Just a few more moments and we'll switch to the starting straight for the Motogp class race. The cameras are accompanying us to the starting grid, where engineers and mechanics are checking final details before the start. The weather is magnificent, a perfect end to this weekend. A medium rear tyre is enough to get you through the race in these temperatures, while a harder front tyre is needed. Everything is ready for the start of the race. Marc Marquez is the big favourite from pole position. Just a few moments more until the lights go out and the riders will get going.
Practice yesterday afternoon and probably felt he was in a front row or at worst second row potential challenge in qualifying this morning, but a high-speed get-off through turn 15. There are very few slower crashes around this Portimao circuit than the one Marc Marquez had this morning. The main relief is he's okay, but the consequence of it is that he's got to come from the middle of
Not a familiar position for him to come to the head of a Motogp Grand Prix, or ahead of any grid, to be fair. Just over 12 months ago here at the wonderful Algarve International Circuit in Portimao, Motogp entered uncharted territory. Circuit, the beast on pole, it's lights out and we are racing in the sprint here in Portimao. Bastianini did not get away well at all from that pole position. He couldn't get the front wheel down. Vinales leads it into the first corner from second. Miller did make the lightning start on the KTM, fifth to second for the Aussie, but the beast getting proper bashed around here.
Some real
on his first lap.
And that spells danger for the competition. Marquez has already done half of the work to get himself from his 8th place on the grid up to the front. We're looking backwards from the 93 as we come on to the start-finish straight. Jack Miller has 0.4 of a second of a buffer back to Bagnaia, so he shouldn't be under threat into turn 1, but plenty going on behind them.
So Bastianini started from pole, he comes over the line 5th. Martin was 3rd on the grid, he's been pushed back down to 6th on that first lap. Aleix Espargaro is flying on the inside of his good friend Alex Rins with factory Yamaha there in the first corner as they top it out for 8th place. Aleix Espargaro did actually get the Spaniard, so he's starting to work his way back through the field as well.
So Q already forming up behind Jack Miller. Pedro Acosta was going wide there in the back of the picture. He's just overtaken Fabio Quartararo. They're battling for 10th place just outside the points as Vinales shapes up on the back of Bagnaia. He's very much still in the mix. Miller going wide, but that is a sort of deceptive line through turn 5. He's able to fire it out on the exit.
Yeah, he looked like he was just going a little bit hot there, was Jack Miller. Didn't manage to scoop it all back up. He's coming under increasing pressure in the sprinting Cato and Ducati debut a couple of weeks ago, already quickly down to business. 1:38.893. Marquez already up in a P3.
Surely he's going to have to try and attack Miller as soon as he can, but he's going on the defensive instead. Beautiful move from Maverick Vinales. Marquez back through on the way out of there. Marquez will be well aware that Bagnaia is pulling away.
Somebody's down at turn 3. It's on the picture. It's Alex Rins. I thought it was a blue Yamaha. Unfortunately, it is Alex Rins who's crashed out of contention. So Vinales had a dive bomb there into turn 3, didn't he? On Marc Marquez, it's turn 3 where Alex Rins has gone down. Unfortunately, his sprint is over. Marco Bezzecchi, he started 6th. Yeah, Zarco. That's on the exit 5, isn't it? As he lost the front going in. Well, the rear just stepping out as he probably just picked up the gas there, Johan Zarco. Tough weekend continues for all the Honda contingent. Marco Bezzecchi, 6th on the grid. He's down, well, he was circulating in 13th. Yellow flags out now in sectors 3 and 4 as Martin comes through on Miller. Can hear the crash bikes now, headsets here. Somebody else, is that Binder?
Stepping gets, but it's Brad
Binder's
Binder.
gone down. Binder's down. Yeah, Binder's down at 13. So Brad Binder, I just saw that orange. I thought it was the 33. So Brad Binder's had a shocking Saturday here in Portimao. He crashed in Q2. That dumped him 10th on the grid. There was confirmation of your Digi crash, but it was Binder down at a lucky turn 13. You can't, at this early stage of the season, be losing all that momentum you picked up with a double podium in Qatar.
Yeah, second in the World Championship, of course. He won't be there for long. Last time around, Marc Marquez was a 10th of a second quicker than Bagnaia. Acosta through on his good friend Aleix Espargaro. He's up into 7th place now. It's like Qatar all over again.
How is it possible to make such weird and wonderful shapes on that RC16 that Pedro Acosta does? Whatever he does, he just makes it fit. He forces that bike on the front end into the corners. He said in Qatar that he's not had trust in the front end of a motorcycle as Marquez. He's going to do really well. He's going to do really well to keep that on the tarmac. He does just about recover it all up, but Vinales sweeps on through. He was nearly down there, wasn't he, Marquez? All out of shape, all out of control, going downhill into turn 5. He's done well to stay upright there as Marquez into P3.
Very useful breathing space that for Bagnaia, because Marquez was coming at him, having closed the gap down to half a second on the last lap. It's now Bagnaia with a 9/10 cushion over Vinales. Surely Marquez.
No sprint win the last 10 for Bagnaia. Got to go all the way back to last August in the Red Bull Ring in Austria, but he's trying to set that record straight, and he's in a great position here. He's already set the platform up here, built the base for what should be another sprint victory, because Vinales and Marquez are over a second further back. We're looking back briefly there to the 89 bike of Jorge Martin. It's looking unlikely that there'll be an 11th sprint win for him. Back-to-back wins to kick off 2024 with wins in the sprints, but there is Bagnaia checking out in the distance.
Yeah, the lead is 1 second. The crucial thing here is how long it takes Marc Marquez to get through on Vinales, and whether Marquez will have enough in the time that remains to close back in on Bagnaia, as he was starting to do when he had that fastest lap of the sprint by some margin, half a second and change quicker than the leader. Quarters of a second and a second, and you kind of fancy that Bagnaia will be comfortable as long as it's Vinales second on his pit board. If that changes to Martin, then Bagnaia might start getting a little more concerned.
Oh, how hard is Vinales having to push to keep that second place, to push to keep his hooks into Bagnaia? Well, we saw how hard. Big twitch there as he squeezed the brakes going in to that turn 13, which caught out Brad Binder at the start of this sprint. He's got real good edge grip. Look at the drive he's getting as well through the last couple of corners. Super fast through the right-handers there, isn't he, Maverick Vinales? We know how good the extra downforce, the extra aero they've got on that Aprilia this year. It's made the bike feel planted, rock solid in the high-speed corners. Certainly helping. Oh, Bagnaia's got one. I was going to say, where's Bagnaia gone? Well, Bagnaia has dropped the ball again. So he slots back onto the circuit just ahead of Jack Miller. I wonder, you mentioned this pre-sprint where there's the tailwind here pushing the rise into that first corner, whether that was a factor to consider. But Bagnaia has just run in way too hot, got this missed, snap sideways. He had to let go of the brake there, didn't he?
Well, now he's going to have hard work to try and take what was threatening to be a first sprint win since Austria. Now it's Maverick Vinales who's in possession. What a sprint before.
Bagnaia lost nearly 3 seconds with that mistake at the first corner. He did a 1:41.577. Conversely, full respect to Vinales. He did his fastest lap of the sprint on the very same lap, a 1:38.723. Talk about fighting tooth and nail here. Digging deep into all his reserves of energy to try and keep Martin at bay. Martin could almost reach out and touch his rear tyre, but Vinales, he was the fast one. It was his personal best lap on that previous lap. Still, Martin behind him was slightly quicker. What has Vinales got left in the tank then for this final 2.5 laps here? Can't be hard for this one. Over the line they come. There are just 3,000ths of a second between the lap times of Vinales and Martin in this sprint. 1:38.904 from Vinales, a 1:38.901 from Martin. But Martin,
for the cameras to take us to the Parc Fermé to meet the stars of the race, let's take a quick look at the final Motogp stand. Cameras us into Parc Fermé to see the race winner, who is rightly celebrating with his mechanics. If he continues like this, it will be difficult for his rivals to keep up with him. Here are the top 3 riders on the podium. All 3 were top-notch, but it was Bagnaia's day to put his stamp on the Grand Prix. A fantastic race. Pecco overjoyed because he knows he's pulled off something special.